My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of the Lego Movie. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But let's just cut to the chase. This movie is awesome. This movie is way better than it had any right to be. So let's begin by talking about the cast. And Chris Pratt is fantastic here. He just fits the character of Emmett so perfectly, and I love how naive he is. I love how excited he is. I love how much energy he has, but he also showcases his character arc so incredibly well, and he just carries this movie perfectly. And then we get Will Ferrell, who has pitch perfect comedic timing, and I love how villainous and evil he can be. I love how over the top he is, and he just really delivered here. Elizabeth Banks, I'm not the biggest fan of, but this is one of her best performances. She's charming and likable and a badass as Wild Style, but I also like how her character grows throughout the movie. She just fully delivers. Morgan Freeman has one of the best voices ever, so it just fits this character so perfectly. And despite how funny he is, he still brings some dramatic weight to this movie, and I thought he really stood out. Will Arnett as Batman is just pitch perfect casting. This comedic take on Batman is so good, and I love how funny he is. I love how over the top he is, and nobody could have played him better than Will. Just a really fantastic performance. And Liam Neeson is so funny here. The good cop, bad cop character is so hilarious, and I love how over the top he is, and he just cracks me up throughout. Charlie Day is filled with energy here, and his character could have been really forgettable, but he just elevates him in every way. Alison Brie does a pretty good job. Her character can be quite funny. Her character is entertaining. And I always forget that Nick Offerman is Metalbeard because when I hear him talk, I don't hear Nick Offerman. But that said, he still does a really good job. And Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill are barely in this movie, but their voice work as Superman and Green Lantern is just hilarious. I love the way they wrote Green Lantern, and it cracked me up every scene. So the entire cast does incredible work here. And I just love the chaotic energy of this movie. Like, it is so weird and out there, and there's so much going on, but somehow they made it all work. Like, you've got Abraham Lincoln in this movie, you've got Gandalf, you've got Superman interacting with Shaquille O'Neal, you've just got so many different characters from so many different franchises, and it's filled with self aware humor, and it works. It really does. And this movie is hilarious. I love the one scene early on where Emmett is talking about that company and how they're in charge of the history books and the voting machines. That is a pitch perfect gag. I thought Vitruvius's death and the way it was handled and how he comes back later on is so funny. I love when Batman is playing everybody his original song about how he's an orphan. The scene where they're in the sea and Batman's just like, well, it's not like there's going to be a giant ship that just comes by and a giant ship comes by. And later on, he's like, where are we going to get a hyperdrive? It's not like a ship is just going to randomly come by and the Millennium Falcon comes. That's a really great gag. Um, I love how Emmett uses his head as a wagon wheel. I love how Lord Business calls it the Polish removal of Niall. I love how he describes real life items. Like, this movie just has 100 jokes a minute, and they all land. This movie is comedy gold, and there is a real wit to this movie. It's very smartly written, and I do love the story of Emmett as he becomes a master builder. I love his relationship with Wildstyle, and it's actually pretty heartfelt at moments. Like the scene where Emmett is sacrificing himself to save everyone is actually real touching. And maybe it's just because I think sacrifices are genuinely emotional plot beats, but it hits you in the feels. And I also love how this movie uses instruction manuals. Like, it's the Lego movie, instructions are a key part of Legos, but then they actually interweave that idea just seamlessly into the plot, and it really works thematically. It's actually such a smart movie, and I love how this movie is about a fascist government trying to control its people. I love how this is a movie about the importance of standing out and being unique and being creative. And I love how this is a movie about how everyone has potential, but sometimes they're just trapped in a life, trapped in a system where they can't fulfill that potential. And I know it seems to be the divisive element of this movie, but the real world stuff really works for me. Like, honestly, when I saw this movie in 2014, this is where the movie fell apart. But over time, I have really come to appreciate it because it does recontextualize the entire movie. And now you know the story is just this kid playing with his toys. And it also makes it seem like the movie is about a father and son. And it's about how this father is a businessman. He has lost all creativity. He has lost his sense of fun. And he's kind of putting that onto his kid as well. And it's about how we need to let our mind run free. We need to be creative. We need to be able to have fun. So it actually adds plenty of depth to this movie, and it's actually really layered. Like, the fact that Phil Lord and Chris Miller came up with this is just mind blowing. This is a brilliant script, and I love the animation. The Lego look just is so unique and creative, and there is so much going on, but it all looks great. I love how the fire and smoke looks throughout this movie. I love how the water looks. It's just truly one of the best looking movies. Like, I mean it. Like, it's colorful, it's vibrant, it's unique, it has its own identity, and it really delivers. I really like the music by Mark Mothersbaugh. It adds some nice, I don't want to say emotion, but it gives this movie its own sense of identity, and I do think it elevates the movie throughout. And the Everything is Awesome song, I do. Yes, it's really generic, but that's also kind of the point. But it's still catchy enough where you can understand what it represents, but it's still kind of fun to listen to. So they walk that fine line so incredibly well. And I also want to say that this movie had a budget of $65 million. How? Like, that number blows my mind. You've got some big name actors, you've got Star Wars characters, DC characters, Lord of the Rings characters. Like, I guess it's a Warner Brothers movie, but still, there had to be some cost involved. And the animation doesn't look cheap at all, but somehow this movie is only $65 million. Just crazy to me. So the movie is just incredibly well written and directed by Phil Lord and Chris Mello. I honestly think that these two guys are two of the best voices in Hollywood, and I can't wait for anything they do. So this movie just completely works. The cast does a great job. The characters are entertaining. The movie is filled with so many jokes, and it still manages to be hilarious. The movie is filled with this chaotic energy. It's a very fast-paced and entertaining movie. The movie has some nice emotion. The movie has thematic depth to it. It's just a truly brilliant and unique and perfect movie. It really is. And I think it just looks incredible. Oh, and the sound is fantastic as well. So I'm giving the Lego Movie a 9 out of 10. I always talk about how people shouldn't take the Oscars seriously, and like, this movie wasn't nominated for Best Animated Movie in 2014. And to make matters even worse, Big Hero 6 won. Like, in 2014, the Oscars thought Big Hero 6 were much better than How to Train Your Dragon 2 and the Lego Movie. Look, it's all subjective, but that is fucking stupid. But anyways, the Lego Movie. Have you seen it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin out.